To flourish is to have five different elements, that free people choose. The first one is the one that most comes to mind, and that's how you feel, subjective well-being, happiness. And I'm not going to talk much about positive emotion today. Part of the reason is it's important to know that being cheerful and merry and smiling a lot is highly biologically constrained. It is constrained in very similar ways to your weight. You can learn to live in the upper part of your biologically set envelope, but you can't take a curmudgeon and make them a cheerleader. Turns out that's not possible. So a positive emotion is normally distributed. And what that means is that 50% of the world is not feeling good right now. It's highly heritable. It's about 50% heritable. And part of the reason for having five elements of well-being is that if our only measure of well-being was smiling a lot, we're essentially consigning half the world to the hell of unhappiness. But there are techniques that increase positive emotion, and I'll talk about a couple of them. The second is engagement. When time stops for you, when you are one with the music. So looking around, it looks to me that about 60% of you are one with what I'm saying. The other 40% of you are having sexual fantasies, by the way. So we know about that. And the question for education and for how you live is how can you have more flow and more engagement in life? And it turns out that what's been learned is flow, being one with the music, occurs when your very highest strengths just meet the highest challenges that come your way. And so the question in the classroom of creating flow and engagement, the question in the corporation is to have the challenges rise just to meet the talents of the people you're dealing with. The third element that free people pursue, even if they bring none of the other elements, is good relationships. And I'll talk about some new findings in good relationships. The fourth element is meaning and purpose, and that's belonging to and serving something that you think is bigger than you are. It turns out that we are hive creatures. In spite of what Dawkins and my other biologist friends who believe in individual selection suggest, we're much more than selfish beings. We're hive creatures as well. And human beings ineluctably, by evolution, seek to be part of something larger and to contribute to it. And we'll talk about that as well. And the final element is accomplishment. So, good news about both of these. Each of these is measurable and each is teachable. So it turns out that for all five of these, you can have more in life than you do now. So let me first talk about measurement. The usual way that we measure PERMA is by questionnaire. Oh, and those of you who are interested in the questionnaire measurement of each of these elements, I have a website called AuthenticHappiness.org, one word. It's free, and it's not only in English, it's in Spanish, in Chinese, in German. And so on this website are the 20 basic tests of PERMA. So you can give questionnaires and ask people what their level of happiness is, what their level of how good their relationships are, how much meaning they have in life compared to other people of the similar stripe. There are about 3.25 million people who have registered at this website and taken the tests. So we have a very good idea of the norms around the world. So questionnaires are the usual way of measuring these. And I've done questionnaires all my life. David Cameron, the Prime Minister of Britain, decided about 3 years ago that he would measure the well-being of Britain, and more importantly, he would hold himself accountable for the success or failure of public policy by increases and decreases in well-being. Radical political change. I'm on his statistical committee, and what we do is we make 200,000 phone calls to British people chosen at random every 3 months, and we ask them how happy are they, were they anxious yesterday, and the like. And that's a way of doing things. But the age of the questionnaire is coming to an end. There's something brand new under the sun about assessing the well-being of the world, and it's big data. So let me tell you what we do and what other groups around the world are starting to do. PERMA has a vocabulary. It has a lexicon. In English, there are about 45,000 words and phrases that are PERMA words and anti-PERMA words. That's nice. Well, with the social media, now what we do is measure the well-being of the world in real time and in real space. And we do that by scanning through hundreds of millions of tweets, Facebook statuses, and email asking about the deployment of the words. And so, for example, when the Chilean miners were rescued, if you look at tweets from Chile and you look at the P words, the happiness words, goes way up in Chile and remains flat in Argentina. So it turns out that you can, I believe, more validly measure the PERMA of the students of Tecmilenio, the PERMA of Mexico, the PERMA of the world by looking at the social media in time. And I'll just give you a little sample of what develops when you start to measure this way. Okay, this is based on 80 million tweets. And what we know here is that the 70,000 people from whom we got the 80 million tweets have taken traditional questionnaires on neuroticism. And some of them are highly neurotic, some of them are stable. And we ask the question, what do they think? What do they say? And it turns out that you can see very clearly what is highly neurotic people, what's going through their head all day long. Depressed, depression, sick of, hate, crap, dead. Whereas people who are low neurotic, success, beautiful, workout, volleyball, God, blessings. And it turns out that we now do this for a wide variety of characteristics. And very importantly, we know what this looks like for PERMA and for anti-PERMA. So imagine the following. Imagine that Tecmilenio decides to measure the well-being of all of its students. And the way it does it is not by loaded questionnaires, how are you feeling today, but rather by anonymous, de-identified, very important that this is anonymous, Gmail, tweets, and Facebook. And imagine further that the faculty decides its job is not just to teach knowledge, but to increase the well-being of students. Well, you can look over time at the increase in PERMA and the decrease in anti-PERMA words. You can ask what courses, what faculty members are most effective at doing that. So this is a very brief view of the end of the age of the questionnaire. I predict 20 years from now, people won't give questionnaires anymore. What they will say, and essentially this is free, by the way. It's unobtrusive, it's non-reactive, and it costs almost nothing.